Hello everybody, it's Sarah and welcome to take 2 of this video that was supposed to be uploaded yesterday, but then I lost the file and I didn't have time to film and edit again, so a Monday upload it is, which for once actually fits quite well because the topic of this video was in honor of International Women's Day, which I can now upload this video exactly on that day and don't have to upload it a day early. So I guess the universe was kind to me for once or something. I don't know. But yeah, today's video is gonna be kind of a two-parter, or this video is gonna be split into 2 parts. The first is gonna be a discussion and the second part is gonna be me talking about some underappreciated female characters. And if you wanna skip the discussion, although why would you want to? My discussions are amazing, if I do say so myself, but the timestamp to the second part of the video is down below, so you can skip the discussion if you want, which this discussion is gonna be about the term strong female character as well as the character trope of the not like other girls character. And yeah, I'm gonna talk in this video, when I talk about the term strong female character, I want to center the discussion around why I think this term is outdated. I have already done a video before in which I talked about why I think this term is problematic and why I think using this term on certain female characters is kind of problematic, and why I think there's a certain implicit misogyny wrapped up in this term. So I will leave that video linked down below and up there, which by the way, that video is 2 years old, so you know, expect some cringe I guess. And also I somehow managed to keep that video under 15 minutes, which don't ask me how I did that, because it was quite similar to this one where I had the video split into 2 parts, a discussion and then me talking about my favorite female characters. So yeah, I don't know what was up with that. This video is probably not gonna be 15 minutes, it's probably gonna be 25 minutes long, let's be honest. So I think the rise of the term or the trope strong female character mostly started within like the 80s. Like that's when I feel those characters became more popular, especially within action movies. Like, you know, Terminator with Sarah Connor, then the Aliens franchise, which I never saw, with I don't know what her name was, Ripley? I think that was the name of that character, and so on. And I think back then those characters, those types of characters were very valid. Because I think, you know, beforehand, especially within media, we really had 3 types of female characters. We had the damsel in distress without any personality whatsoever. We had the mothers without any personality whatsoever. And we had the evil deceivers and seductresses with a lot of personality actually, and sometimes they even ended up being good characters, but no matter if they ended up being good characters or not, most of the time they ended up dying, because, you know, that's just what happens when you're evil and a seductress and deceitful. You know, and that was really the 3 types of characters, also known as the 3 archetypes of the maiden, the mother and the prostitute. And yeah, that was really the only choices you had for female characters. And I do very much think that at some point we needed the strong female character trope as we know it today. Not as it's used today, but as we stereotypically know it today. You know, the strong woman, the self-determined woman, the woman who is just as good as the boys. And I think we needed those women like 40 years ago, 50 years ago, because to break the mold, you after all gotta break the mold before. You gotta do something extreme, kind of. However, as time went on, I think, and that is what I mostly talked about in my other strong female characters video, I think there came a certain, you know, implicit misogyny with the strong female character trope, because after all, the strong female characters always were characters who very much behaved in a typically masculine way, or who read as more masculine rather than feminine. And by the way, I wanna have a quick quote right now from one of Anne Bishop's books, where a male character complains that a female character doesn't dress feminine enough, and the female character says she's a woman, therefore everything she wears is feminine enough. And I think it's the same, you know, with characteristics. Any characteristic a woman has is feminine. It does not matter what that characteristic is, if it's fighting, if it's sewing, if it's, you know, cooking, if it's debating, I don't know, whatever, you know what I mean. However, we also cannot deny that we live in a society, if you want to say it like that, and so our expectations for what is seen as masculine and what is seen as feminine is very much influenced by the society, by the culture, and by the time that we live in. And so, of course, when I talk in this video about femininity or masculinity, I am talking about traditionally seen as feminine traits and traditionally seen as masculine traits, no matter that, you know, femininity and masculinity is a construct that changes from culture to culture even. So yeah, I just wanted to have that out of the way. I'm talking about, by the way, centering traditionally Western characteristics. So let's see if I remember where I was. But anyway, after the initial breaking of the molds, so to speak, where I think we needed those feminine characters, not feminine characters, those female characters that were very masculine to show that women can also be masculine and women can be just as good as men or whatever. I think that we have developed away from that, and I think that if we have a character now that embodies this very stereotypical strong female character, there's a certain implicit misogyny within that character, which of course is how we now also came to the not like other girls trope, which is used mostly within YA but also exists within other media, but we'll get to that in a second, because I think right now, I think we don't have to classify characters as strong female characters anymore, because I think we have such a variety of female characters by now in fiction. We are no longer confined to 3 tropes. We are no longer confined to the tropes of the damsel in distress, the mother, and the evil sorceress. That, you know, while there's still certain misogynistic depictions of women in media, I think we can move on from the strong female character and just say, you know, they're a strong character. I mean, it might sound silly, you know, but I think that's how it is. I think it's no longer a selling point for a book, for example, because, you know, even a few years ago, I think maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it would be a selling point for a book, especially towards other female readers, if you could say, you know, this book does not have female characters that fall into the 3 archetypical roles. This book has a character that is a strong female character in which you can see yourself and be proud to see yourself in. But I think that now we do have such a variety of female characters that I think it's more misogynistic to say strong female character, to feel like you have to point out this character is strong and she is female, rather than just saying she's an amazing character, she's a strong character, she's a complex character. Because you would never think of pointing out this is a strong male character. You would never feel like you had to point out that a character can be strong and male. And, you know, I think in 2021, maybe in the 1980s it wasn't like that, but I think in 2021 we are at a point where we don't have to point out anymore that a character that is a strong character is also a female character. We can just point out that they're an amazing character, you know, that just happens to be female. But now let's move on to the not like other girls trope, because I think the not like other girls trope kind of, or the nomer of the not like other girls trope kind of came from the awareness of the implicit misogyny within a lot of the strong female character tropes. Because a lot of times I feel like strong female characters started to no longer be complex characters who happen to be strong, but they kind of were put in opposition to other female characters and to especially feminine character, where you had to show, you know, this character, she's not like the other girls. The other girls being girls who are feminine, traditionally feminine. The other girls being girls who are oh so interested in boys. The other girls being girls who are into makeup. The other girls being girls who are shallow, who are often like, you know, bitch queen type characters. And, you know, it's very fair to say that that's a harmful trope, and it's the most harmful kind of variation of the strong female character trope, or what the strong female character trope turned into. Because the strong female character wasn't anymore a complex character, but, you know, turned into this kind of 2D type, very simple character. However, something that really annoys me about the not like other girls trope is that while I think it was a valid criticism, especially of a lot of early YA works, I think that by now every character, like people who call certain characters not like other girl tropes, they are people who will call every single female character who does not show traditionally feminine characteristics a not like other girl trope. Especially if other female characters within that universe or within that book show more traditionally feminine characteristics. I see it a lot, for example, with Vin from Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, that she is called a not like other girl trope, which I can see how she can be read that way at the very beginning of the book. But if you follow her like discovery and her development closely throughout the book, you will notice that every single aspect that a lot of not like other girl tropes have is debunked within her development throughout the story. Like, I would say there's 3 parts to the not like other girl trope. I would say that first of all, of course, there is the description of the character as being different from the other girls. However, I think that not every female character that is different from the other female characters in the books is a not like other girls trope. Because, for example, for Vin, there is a very good reason why she is different from all the other female characters within the story. Then additionally to the being different aspect, there's also an aspect of implying that that being different means that that character is better than all the other girls. Which again, might be there a little bit at the beginning of Mistborn, but throughout even the first novel, it is very much shown how that is not the case, and your expectations are subverted. So again, debunking the not like other girls trope in the case of Vin. By the way, I'm only showing Vin as an example, just to show what I think the not like other girls trope is, and how a lot of times we do not allow the full complexity of the reading of the female characters. I don't know if that properly makes sense. But yeah, the third thing I have in a not like other girls trope is an antagonism between our main female character and other girls. And again, here we might have an antagonism, but I think the important thing about the not like other girls trope is that that antagonism isn't very well funded, and that it basically just comes down to petty jealousy, which again is not the case with Vin whatsoever. And so I just think we have come to an impasse when it comes to our readings of female characters, because again, as I said, I feel like we don't really allow for the full complexity of the female characters. Because if female characters are complex and maybe morally grey, they're unlikable. If female characters are powerful, it doesn't matter how complex they are, they get called a Mary Sue. If female characters maybe are described in a way where they don't subscribe to traditional femininity that much, they automatically get called a not like other girls trope. And if the characters are too feminine, then they're not strong female characters, because after all, what strength is there in femininity? So yeah, anyway, my point of that discussion is women cannot win, female characters cannot win, and, you know, recognize the complexity in female characters, because it's there. And 90% of the time, if you call a female character a certain trope, I can guarantee you they are not that trope. So yeah, that was that for my discussion. I am getting angry now, so let's now move on to the pleasant bit, which is me talking about some underappreciated female characters. Before that though, I want to have some self-plugs and some self-promotion, so to say. And the reason why I want to do that is that after all, since today is International Women's Day, and since my channel, or on my channel, I try to focus a lot on adult high fantasy written by women specifically, I thought it's a good time to plug all the videos and stuff. So in the description box down below, you will find the 2 videos I've done so far recommending adult high fantasy books written by female authors. One was my first one where I hadn't yet read enough books by women of color to recommend any of those, and the second one is specifically focusing and centering women of color. So those 2 videos are linked down below. Then also in the description box down below, I will have my playlist Women in Fantasy, which is mostly just my dedicated reviews that are high fantasy books, adult high fantasy books written by women. But you will also find a few other videos, basically all videos I have done that somehow center women in adult fantasy. Also, of course, the 2 videos that I just talked about earlier. And then the last and third plug I have is to my book club, of course, of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, which is all about reading books written by women, adult high fantasy books written by women, and we buddy read 1 book a month. There's a Discord, there's a Twitter, there's a Goodreads that isn't being used, and I will leave all the links down below, and also I will leave the announcement video up there if you want to know more info on the book club. But you know, if you don't just want to watch videos on adult high fantasy written by women, but actually want to do some of the reading, then that book club is a good chance for you to do that. So yeah, those were my little plugs, and now let's get into the female characters that I don't talk about enough on my channel. Because I thought originally to do a favorite female characters video again, but I gotta be honest, you all know who my favorite female characters are. You all know that I love Vin, as I have made very clear earlier. You know that I love Shallan from the Stormlight Archive. You know that I absolutely admire Marla Wolfblade from the Hydron Chronicles. You know I would die for Cersei Lannister, and you know that I love and just would give my entire being to all of the women from Anne Bishop's books. So you know, we don't have to talk about them again, but we do have to talk about a few characters that I don't talk about enough. So that is what we're gonna do now. These characters are in no particular order, I just kind of pulled them from my bookshelf randomly, and the first of the characters is Briseis from The Silence of the Girls by Pet Barker. This book is a retelling of the Iliad, and this time the Iliad is told from the point of view of Briseis. Briseis being the queen that was taken as a war prize, as a slave by Achilles, and then, you know, had to go through some stuff. And I find her an incredibly interesting character because she is very complex. She is a very conflicted character, especially her relationship to Achilles in this book is very conflicted and very complex, because on the one hand, he is the one who basically killed her family, and he is like kind of the, you know, embodiment of the Greeks whom she hates. But also he is the only reason she is safe within the Greek war camp. And also her relationship to Achilles becomes very interesting because of her friendship that she starts with Patroclus then later on in the book. And I just find her an incredibly interesting and complex and, as I said, conflicted character that, you know, I love her a lot. Although I don't even know if I love her is the right word to say it, because, you know, it's just, you know, I find her incredibly interesting and incredibly strong and resilient as well. So yeah, can highly recommend this book. Next I have Lear from The Queens of Inish Lear by Tessa Gretton. This is a retelling of Shakespeare's King Lear, and Lear is the character of the youngest daughter. I'm not sure if the names in this book correspond to the names of the Shakespeare play because I never read it. So yeah, but anyway, the play of course centers this mad king who needs to choose an heir, and to do that he asks his 3 daughters whom loves him the most. And the first 2 play the game and just like promise everything, promise how much they love him, but the youngest daughter, who actually loves him the most, just says, I won't play because you know how much I love you, I don't have to prove anything to you. And because of that, because the king is mad, he exiles her. And so Aaliyah is this character. She's sent into exile. She is, at the very beginning of the book, she's a very caring, but in a way also very naive character. She loves her father, she loves her sisters, she cares a lot just about everything and everyone. And so she is a very feminine character. However, she develops a lot over the course of this novel. And of course, this is based on a Shakespearean tragedy. So you know she has to change, and you know she has to not become more resilient, because she's very resilient from the very beginning, but she has to become less naive, and she in a way has to become less caring. But something I absolutely loved about her character is that in a lot of books, like characteristics like being caring, which are seen as very traditionally feminine, you know, the nurturing, caring mother, they are often like bundled up with naivete. And to be a strong person, you have to stop being caring and, you know, kind of have to lose your naivete. And so in a lot of contexts, being caring is often framed as a weakness. And in a way, this is the framing in this book as well. However, what I really love about Aaliyah as a character, and what I love about the framing of this book, is that her loss of naivete, her loss of caring, is framed as a loss. It is not framed in a way where it makes her stronger in a way. I mean, it does make her stronger. It makes her more able to do what needs to be done. But it is still a loss, and it is still a loss that is felt. And so, yeah, I just really, really love Aaliyah. I need to reread this book, and everyone go read The Queens of Inishlia, which, by the way, all three of the queens or the princesses are amazing characters. Just, I almost said amazing female characters, which, by the way, I just called myself out in the discussion a bit early, because I know that I myself still use, you know, the phrasing of the strong female character, but all three of them are amazing characters and their gender does not matter. So yeah. I also have a few characters in this list who maybe would count as favorites of all time now already, but I have not had the chance yet to talk about them at length, so they're in this video as well. And so the first of those is Misaki from The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. Because of course I had to have a mom on this list. Because after all, as I have said multiple times already in previous videos, as I reiterate in I think every second video I film, mothers, especially in fantasy, are my favorite character trope. I love them. I love that we see more of them finally, that we don't see them anymore just as, you know, the mother of the main character who probably is already dead, but that we see them take center stage in their own stories. And that is also the case with Misaki. What I love about Misaki especially is that the setting of this book is this battle, the attack of her village. And we see how she is before and kind of a little bit at the beginning of the battle. We see how she changed after the battle, but we also get some looks into her past. And I love that, you know, in the past, or what we see of her in the past, she would probably be characterized as a very traditional strong female character trope. She can fight, she is just as good as the boys, or however you want to say it. But at the same time, she feels a little bit lost as a character, which I think if you just focus on the strong female character part, you might not even notice. But she feels very lost. And then at the very beginning of the story, of the timeline that the main part of the story takes place in, she still has that lost part of her, like even more so than before maybe even. But additionally, she has also lost the part of her that would make her a strong female character. I mean, she can still fight, but she's not allowed to use it. And then at the very end of the book, not at the very end, but during the book actually, we see her reclaim that old part of herself, and we see her also for the first time finally making decisions who she wants to be. Who she wants to be, not for other people, but who she wants to be for herself. How she wants to live her life. And so I just love her development, her character arc throughout the novel, through the past, through the present, through the novel. And yeah, she's just an amazing character, and that she is an amazing mom who will do everything for her children just adds to it. I mean, even as a mom character, she's a very complex character because she is very conflicted about her role as a mom. I mean, she loves her children regardless, but you know, she still is conflicted about being a mom. And yeah, absolutely love her. Everyone read The Sword of Kaigan. I have a full review of this actually up on my channel, so I will leave that link down below and up there. Next, we have a character who actually only plays a very small role in the story that she's from, but even though her role is small, she made her way into my heart, and she's probably one of my favorite, if not my like #1 favorite character from this series. I mean, I cannot say the series yet because I only read the first book so far, but you know, from the first book. And the book is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, which is book 1 in the Dandelion Dynasty, and the character I'm talking about is Princess Kikomi. Princess Kikomi is one of those characters, I mean, I can't talk too much about who she is and what she does because that would be spoilers, but the reason why I love her is because she's another one of those characters that kind of, you know, lives in a world where being a woman maybe isn't, you know, the best thing you could be, where it's very much a patriarchy, but she's also a woman who refuses to be beat down, who refuses to give up living life on her terms, and who refuses to let men win over her. And I just absolutely loved her so much in this book. And yeah, she's an impressive as fuck character, is all I can say. Next, we have probably the only YA character on this list, because I don't know, I just don't tend to latch onto YA characters as much anymore, but that character is Spencer from the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson, which I'm just gonna say it's a surprise that Spencer is on this list because I hated Spencer for the first half or 2/3 of this book. But first, I gotta explain a little bit what Spencer's deal is, and that is that in this book Spencer lives on a planet that is constantly attacked by aliens. Her father used to be a fighter pilot, so she wants to step into his footsteps and wants to be a fighter pilot as well. However, the people at the flight academy won't let her in because actually at the most important battle in the history of this civilization, her father, you know, defected, I think is the word, and had to be shot down by his colleagues. And so now the mark of cowardice is on him and also on his family. Because of that, Spencer has had a tough life. She has kind of lived on the outskirts of society. She has been made fun of, she has been bullied, and she absolutely refuses to accept the story that is spread about her fathers. She kind of has built this wall around herself also by being absolutely fascinated by heroes and warriors from old legends, and she kind of gives herself as if she was one of the heroes from those old legends, which can sometimes be quite cringy, but she's just like a very stubborn and resilient character. But that also made her, for me at least, really hard to read from for the first, as I said, half, 2/3 of this book, and I absolutely could not stand her. However, I also can say that I have never made a 180 on a character as much as I did on Spencer, because now I absolutely love her. The character development she goes through is so massive, and it's just so amazing. I mean, I'm not gonna say how she changes exactly because after all that would be spoilers, but I can just say that Spencer turns into a character that you can just, you know, feel with and appreciate, and she's just, oh, she's so good. She never really loses the stubborn and impulsive edge that she has at the very beginning, but oh my god, she turns into such an amazing character, and because of that I think she's just one of the most well-written of Brandon Sanderson's characters, which, you know, that's a big thing to say. I think she's, like, I wouldn't say she's one of my favorites of Brandon Sanderson's characters because there's a lot of those, but I definitely think she's one of his best characters. So yeah, if you've read a lot of Brandon Sanderson, you will know how big of a compliment that is. And then the last character I have is Hanani from The Shadowed Sun by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in the Dreamblood duology. However, both of the duologies, like both books, follow different characters, so Hanani only appears in the second book. And she is probably one of the only religious characters that I really appreciate and really love. I am not the biggest fan of, like, not generally religious characters, but you know, really religious characters. I don't know how else to say it. And Hanani definitely is that. She is the first female member of the Hetawa, which is the religious organization, kind of like the church in this world. And so she's the first woman there. And because of that, she kind of has to fight a lot. And she's very timid at the beginning of the story. However, what I love about her so much is that her story very much also is a story of self-determination. And at the very beginning, she lives as she thinks she has to live. She lives kind of as a man because she thinks she does have to do that, because usually only men are allowed in the Hetawa. And during the story, she develops in a way where she realizes she can live life on her own terms, and she won't let men decide anymore what her religiosity means to her. Religiosity, is that even a word? Spirituality? I don't know. I hope you know what I mean. And so yeah, I just loved it about her, because that kind of self-determination, once again, self-determination kind of is the, you know, string, the red string throughout most of these characters. I just love self-determined characters. I love them a lot, especially if they're women. But anyway, she learns that she can live life on her own terms, both as a, I don't know how to say it, but worldly person, like not concerning spiritual things, religious things, but as well as her life as it concerns spirituality. And I just loved it about her. I love her so much. She is such an amazing character. And again, at the very beginning of the story, maybe I wasn't the biggest fan of her because she was a very timid character who let others push her around, but she definitely learned a lot, and I love the type of person she is at the end of the book. So yeah, that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. Tell me in the comments down below, first of all, who are your favorite female characters? Second of all, who do you think are underappreciated characters in fiction? Who does not get enough hype from book Twitter, booktubers, and so on? Third of all, what were your thoughts on my discussion? What are your thoughts on the strong female character term as well as the not like other girls trope? And I think that was all the things. Tell me about those 3 things in the comments down below. And yeah, all the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check those out. As I said, all the links to my book club are in the description box down below. Also, all the links to all the women in fantasy videos that you could want are in the description box down below, and so go and check all of those out. And so, happy International Women's Day, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!